let's take a look at the LSU and Auburn game. I think that, Hugh Freeze has done a pretty good turnaround in 1 year. Now, of course, not as good as Brian Kelly did with LSU last season, but Auburn was in a lot different situation prior to Hugh Freeze than they are now. I think that their run game is very, very solid. Auburn might have one of the better run games that we've faced so far. I think what makes their run game so brutal is similar to what makes ours so brutal. Their quarterback can get in and get active, and at times he runs more than he throws. I mean, if you look at their close game against Georgia, he ran more than he passed in terms of yardage. He had 92 rushing yards and only 82 passing yards. So with that being said, you can see where the mindset of this offense is. It's a run-first team. They're not going to say that they're not going to pass, but they're not going to rely on passing. Now, if you're LSU's defense, that tells you one of two things. That tells you that you could focus on stacking the box, getting that pressure, trying to create some containment and confuse that offense, get the quarterback off his spot, make Auburn think a little bit. But what they need to be prepared for is a little sneak attack. They need to be prepared for when that run stops inevitably, or for when LSU has that answer for what's going to be opened up in the passing game. Because taking a look at Payton Thorne, Auburn's quarterback, he threw for over 6,000 yards at Michigan State. Now, right now, currently, he only has 4 passing touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So he's kind of riding that line pretty thin. But I think that he definitely is a threat, especially with our DB room. He's definitely a threat to create some trouble and make this a little bit of an interesting game. You see LSU debuting at the favored hard at negative 11.5. Totals at 61. So what that tells me is we're in for a little bit of a treat. I feel like the last time that this happened, Arkansas, LSU, Tiger Stadium, LSU heavily favored against kind of weaker SEC West team when you look at the hierarchy of what's going on in the standings. I'm not saying LSU is in over their head or they're thinking that they got one in the bag, because things have changed since the Arkansas game, as we know. So they might be able to, go out, start fast, and try to hit Auburn early. I think if you're playing against a team that can run the football, here are the main things you want to focus on. So you want to be able to chew that clock, because if you put them in a situation where they don't have that much time, they're not going to be able to rely on their strong suit. They're not going to be able to just run the ball down the field. They're not going to be able to just chew that clock over and over and over. They're not going to have much time. So control that time of possession. LSU is going to be able to probably push their way into a situation where, they're going to have to get a stop here, or they're going to have to get a big turnover like we saw at the end of the Mizzou game. But, I think that they're going to have to ride the hot hands here. You got a couple hot hands on LSU's team. You're going to have to play hard on them. I think the first one is obvious. It's Jayden Daniels. You're going to have to go on the offensive side, trust in your quarterback, allow him to produce at the level that he's been producing. And on the defensive side, y'all finished out very strong performance against Mizzou. I think that energy needs to be brought to this game. That energy needs to be brought to this game so that momentum can grow and that run can get stopped, because I think really that's going to be the X factor in this game, is whether or not LSU's defenders can put the runners on the ground. If Auburn's going to run all over LSU, if they're going to chew the clock, if they're going to be in control, if they're going to dictate how long the defense is out there and when the offense can come back out, it'll be a rough game and LSU's going to be in a rough spot. However, if the defense can get them off the field and allow the offense to chew time and just put them in a rough situation where they have to pass and they have to rely on Payton Thorne, and it wasn't their first option, and now we know what to expect because the game plan shifts, that's going to be their ticket. I think, if that happens in a perfect world, LSU more than likely is going to take this one. My score prediction for this is going to be 31-24. I think that, it's a probable win. It'll be a close one, though. I'm not going to ride that 11.5 spread. I'm not feeling too confident in that one. I think our offense is, a lot better than Auburn's offense. But one of the other things that we're going to have to pay attention to in this game is going to be the physicality, because that defensive line that Auburn has definitely poses a threat to Jayden Daniels and his health and what he'll be able to do for this offense. Because if the defensive line gets in, rocks him early, doesn't allow him to get out of the pocket, keeps him in a little contained and closed area, there's going to be trouble. He's not going to be able to just bounce out, extend the play, get the yardage. And I think that these hits are going to start to add up. I mean, you can't week after week after week just keep getting smoked, not getting down, not sliding. I mean, come on. At some point, sooner rather than later, we're going to have to start protecting ourselves and playing the long game here. We're going to need Jayden Daniels on the field if we're going to be talking, a potential SEC title or, potential New Year's Six Bowl to try to bring LSU some relevancy when it comes down to bowl season.